marketing is great and it's wonderful, but you have to have really tough skin because, most of what you put out there, if you're going to take that so personal, you're going to have a real short career. I always say, people always think marketers have the biggest ego because we think we're always right. I've heard that from a lot of people, right? Oh, they walk around, they think they're always right. I'm like, do we? Yeah. I feel like we've been beat up. Like us and PR people, we get beat up more than anybody.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the What's the Point podcast, episode 11. We're sitting here on the 4th of June? Is today the 4th?
4th of June.
4th of June. Nate Smith, Digital Creative Director of the Point Group, my cohort and partner in crime, Raul Espinoza, over there on production duties. He's not on camera today, but we may hear his voice from time to time. We're super excited today because we have the wonderful, magnanimous, stupendous Eileen Gonzales, Marketing and Communications Director for Allen EDC in the house. Eileen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Nate.
Finally, after like all these months and then you got sick and we were trying to plan it and you just couldn't make it.
I'm so difficult. I make so many problems.
Stop.
I'm so sorry.
You're fantastic. We've been working together for a long time.
We have.
Like 5 years, right? 5-6 years?
5-6 years.
Since we did the site, which is still up now. It's beautiful.
The site is still up. I remember we're still asking the same questions we were asking at the same time. So I don't know what that means for us.
That was a fun project to do though, man. It was such a joy to work with you. I had just a blast doing that. I'm so glad that it's still lending itself to you guys today. It's really
I'm glad I can give you something creative to do. Economic development isn't always creative. So
hey, but you know what though? You make it fun.
Oh, good.
Not that economic development isn't fun, but Eileen makes it extra fun. Yeah.
It's amazing, right?
Just specify that right now. Just no offense to anybody else.
I don't know, actually. Like I've had to do research, for Allen and going through other EDCs. I'm kind of like, Allen's doing something very different. So
well, there you go. That's what I was here for, to kind of rise me up, make me feel better.
Well, and that's a lot of what we're going to get into today is
great.
Why Allen EDC is so great. Shameless plug. And what makes you guys different in how you approach economic development. Like, I think that's a lot of what we're going to get into today. So
absolutely.
Are you ready to just dive right in?
I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Nail me with the questions.
Stop. Okay. So question number 1.
Yes.
Eileen, what makes a company choose Allen over another city, and how much of that comes down to marketing?
So that's a great question. I think we actually just went through a big project for the city of Allen. I have to give a lot of credit to our community relations director and then also our CVB to kind of go through that. We came up with some brand values for the city of Allen. And so I'll probably shamelessly plug a few of those today.
Okay.
But really, I think what it comes down to is the city of Allen has its own beat. And every city has its own beat, its own vibe. And so what marketing comes down to is how can we tell that story? And it's really interesting because they can't experience, most people that we're trying to reach, it's mostly people that are trying to come into Allen. They may or may not know about it. Most of the time they don't. And we're trying to create that vibe for them. We're trying to have them have this experience that they haven't had. And for us, one of our big factors is our sense of community. Allen has one high school. We've got the strong kind of, community that wraps together around this entity that we have that is kind of togetherness and community. And that could be a challenge sometimes to kind of put into marketing. But what we do is try to talk about this one community being, together. We're in things together. We help each other. We support each other. And that translates to the business community as well. We try really hard to set this environment and show that in a marketing way that you will be supported. We will help you in all the ways that we can. We'll try to be as efficient and make it as easy for you as possible to do that. And we have a great amenity base that's going to allow you to enjoy everything that you have about the city. Yeah. So that's what we tried to put out there, the message we're trying to say.
Big city capabilities and support, but with the family kind of hometown vibe. That's
absolutely.
The thing with Allen. It's so great. It's such an amazing community, especially around like y'all's the Allen High School team is a baller football team. They're always really good. But that's one thing that's always really set y'all apart is the humanization of y'all aren't a monolith, right?
Right.
You're going to get a level of support that business would expect coming into a new place, but at the same time, it's like, okay, but also, do I want to raise my family here?
Right.
Are there things that I can do and feel supported within my family structure within the Allen community that would give me sort of the an extra reason to want to bring my business here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we're trying to create a good balance between the things that, a business wants, we're business friendly, and then also the things that a resident would want. If you're living there and also maybe working there, you want a place that you can enjoy, a place that's easy to get to, but has great amenities. And we cannot deny, none of the cities that are here can deny what a great location that we have, right? Being near Dallas, being near the Metroplex, we get to be close to 2 airports. That makes a huge difference to companies. They like the centralness that Dallas has to offer. And, I can say it matters. I'd like to tell you that it doesn't. I've traveled to both coasts recently, and it matters, right? You're kind of quick. There's not this long, huge flight. So you could see why that location matters. So there's all these kind of intangible things that come into play when you're talking about the marketing part of it.
Yeah, that's one good thing about, speaking of the flight distance. I just went to San Diego recently, and the cool thing is you get to either coast within about 3 hours. And it's not that big long from one side of the country to the other.
It's not like New York to LA. If anybody has ever done that, it's a beating.
Brutal flight, man. That is a brutal flight, especially when you're tired. Oh my gosh, brutal flight.
Absolutely.
Love both places.
Absolutely.
And also like the central location of Allen too, as it pertains to Dallas, major airports, things like that. I think it's especially for families and people that are maybe a little bit more advanced in their careers. You're talking about like CEOs, C-suite executives who don't want to necessarily be in the hustle and bustle of downtown or somewhere like that, where maybe life isn't. You still have all the qualifications and everything you need that a major metropolitan area would give you.
Absolutely.
But with maybe a little bit slower lifestyle in terms of like when it comes to your family and things like that.
Absolutely. Right? I mean, those things matter, right? City life is amazing. The urbanization of living in a city is amazing. But it does change and can flow with kind of where you're at in your life and everything you're saying. Yes, as you kind of, I'm in that stage of my life. As you get into that, you want things to be a little easier. You want things to be just maybe not as complicated, but you still want cool things, right? It's not like it used to be. I remember when you went to the suburbs and everybody would say, you're dying out there in the suburbs, right? And some I went to, that was definitely the case. But that is, we are not like that. Really, we have great places to go. We've got great restaurants, great food. And then you're right, we're very close to Dallas when you want to make that hike or
just
go
to hop
somewhere.
down 75.
Just to hop down 75.
But that's something we'll get into a little bit later, is all the mixed use developments that Allen has currently and that are also in development. Some really exciting things coming up that we're going to speak to a little bit. So we'll say that for a little bit later.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So what's been a moment? Let's get a little bit more into the marketing, the straight up marketing side of things when it comes to economic development. So what's been a moment where you thought, okay, this is why marketing matters inside of economic development, right? Like how has there been like that sort of eureka moment where you're like, oh man, this is where it really makes a difference?
I feel like I've had 2. And so I'll make one short because it's kind of boring. And I feel like everybody in economic development has had that moment. So mine wouldn't be any different. But then I have a different one that does. But, when I've been here for 8 years and I remember hearing from a lot of site selectors or other people that are like, where's Allen? I know another city, but I don't know your city. And then a couple of years later, we were doing a lot more national PR, and all of a sudden I heard somebody like, oh, I know Allen. And then they said like 4 or 5 different things that they knew about Allen. And I thought, oh my goodness, it's working. It reached somebody. It's such great validation when you feel like you've done that work and that's happened. But on a more personal note, so I moved to Texas from California, and there was a company that had already made the decision to move to Allen, and they were offering their employees to move here, but they weren't forcing them. They were kind of getting the option. And so because I had lived in California, and marketing also, right? But mostly California, they were like, could you get on this call? It's like a long Zoom call, and it's people that are thinking of moving to Texas, but they're apprehensive about it. So you can maybe just talk to them about it. So I get on this call, and this lady who was so nice, she's like, I just have to ask you some questions. I'm like, I'm ready. Okay, what do you want to ask? And she's like, well, that it's that syndrome. It has a name. I can't remember. She's like, but when they said we were looking at Allen, I started to see it everywhere. She said it started coming up in digital ads. I started seeing it. She said, and then ironically, it was in one of my posts. And I'm thinking, ooh, we did that sponsored content. That's great, right? So I'm so happy that she says it. She said, But I wasn't going to click on it because I didn't really care. But now I did because I want to know. And she said, and I could not believe how much there was a misconception about what I thought about the city. That particular thing that she was saying is she said, it's really hard to move from San Diego was this particular place. And she said, and all I could think is that it's going to be so ugly. And, there's no ocean. We don't have an ocean. No, we can't do anything about that.
Got to go a little ways to get to that.
We do have to get a little ways to the ocean. But she said, you guys had done a really good job of showing all these parks and trails that you have. Ellen does have amazing parks and trails. So I left that call thinking it made a difference. Number one, it was getting to people that it needed to. But number two, it did what we were trying to do was maybe help relieve some misconceptions about what people have because, marketing can definitely do that. Yeah. We're trying to tell a story of something that didn't work. And then also that it resonated with somebody. And that's all we really want in marketing, right? Yeah. You want those two things.
That's it.
So that was it. That was my moment.
Those are amazing.
It's like my mic drop.
Did they think that we were going to be on horseback over here?
With 6 shooters. Hey, this is my Colt Maker Piece 40, Colt whatever it is.
One person did say.
Colt Peacemaker 45.
One person did say, they were like, there weren't that many cowboys. I thought there were a lot more
There
hats.
are a lot. You just got to go certain places. You got to go to Fort Worth to see a lot of those.
And then, so there was that. And then, when it was kind of done, they were like, so tell me how hot it is. Is it really hot? And then I was like, oh, my microphone isn't working. I don't know. I mean, I moved in July and it was brutal. I should have had a better, I should have thought that through.
My sister's last pregnancy, her last trimester was all summer. Like if you that year during the pandemic, and it was just, I just remember it being absolutely brutal on top of it being in the pandemic.
Right.
But, that's the funny thing. It's so funny that you mentioned that. Just having just come back from San Diego.
Right.
Wake up, it's 55. It peaks maybe 72, and there's like a breeze. We get some of that here.
Sometimes
not
it
the
happens.
ocean breeze per se, but we do get some nice weather. A lot of it's
for like
storms,
2 weeks.
For a couple of weeks.
2 weeks.
But you know what though? Some of the other stuff absolutely makes up for it. You just got to make sure you have good AC during the summer.
That's what I said.
And maybe a pool to hang out
That's
at.
what I was like. I was like, everybody hangs out at the pool.
That's all you got to do.
We live the European life. We come out much later. Nobody comes out in the middle of the day.
There you go.
It's too hot.
Who's got anything to do during the day? I mean, come on, man. All the great stuff happens in the evenings.
It really does. So
some beautiful sunsets here too, though. You got to say that, like the sky, colors of the sky here are just
the big Texas sky. It is a real thing. It's beautiful.
But that's a funny thing that Raul asked that question because I feel like that is a misconception for a lot of people that haven't been here. Heck, I know people that live in Dallas that haven't been to Fort Worth all that much, and their minds blown when they go to Fort Worth.
Absolutely.
I'm like, what are these stockyards that we're by? Like, is this stuff really? This is a real thing here? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's rolling hills here. There's all sorts of things you can see in Texas. And Allen is obviously, areas are a big part of that. But Texas is a really beautiful place.
It really is.
It's a huge state with a lot of different natural sort of instances and things that you can see. Kind of like Jay and I, Jay Frederick, our creative director, we talk a lot about, he's from the hill country.
That's right.
But we grew up in West Texas, but he's, like Marathon out that way. But like you go down to Big Bend, it's almost like being on another planet.
I've heard that. I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. But there's some places in Allen out here that are pretty where you're kind of like, man, this is.
I mean, some of
really
our
great.
Trails I have gone on in the middle of the day because we have a trail that's right outside our office.
I love to ride my bike out there.
The bike is nice. And sometimes I will look and I'm like, wow, it's really pretty.
Beautiful.
I mean, I came from a really pretty state. I'm from Colorado and,
And then lived in California. Wow,
I know. I know.
Texas is awesome.
Texas is awesome. But it is true that I think sometimes when you're a certain place, you have a bias. And I kind of looked around and I'm like, everybody says all these things and it's beautiful here. Look at these trees. I have this nice canopy. It's beautiful. It's so... You're right. Everybody has those misconceptions. And that's what we're trying to do from marketing, right? Is we're trying to show you what really is here, what really it can be. But that was my one moment and it was fun. I remember leaving that thing being like,
it's working.
It's working.
That's what we all, that's all we can hope for. I always get excited when I see ads in the wild. Like we see your own ad in the wild.
It's so exciting, isn't it? I don't know why that's so fun, but it is.
So let me ask you this. We're in, if it's not digging too deep, we're in California, were you?
Yep. I was the Bay Area. So I lived on the East Bay, worked in San Francisco.
Nice.
It's a great place to live, obviously. We had we were just talking a little bit ago, we had a whole different lifestyle at that point.
Yeah.
My life changed a little bit for the good, right?
Yeah.
You get kids and your life changes.
Land's End Land's End and the Muir Woods are two of my favorite places in
Muir Woods is
San
great.
Fran. Yeah, it's just like I could stay there all day. It's
It
incredible.
really
It's
is
incredible
nice.
to be there, man. It's so awesome.
And I am a seafood lover, so I do kind of miss that a
It's
little
kind
bit.
of San Fran. That whole Bay Area kind of reminds me of. It kind of feels like the West Coast Manhattan a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it has a.
For sure.
It's super big city, and obviously all the tech companies are there. Palo Alto. We were there in 2018, and we actually went out to Palo Alto and also to Cupertino, and we saw the new Apple headquarters and all that jazz. I saw Facebook HQ, and it's a pretty cool thing. But it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere.
It
Like
really
it's
is.
kind of like, is this like the kind of the desert, just kind of this area in the middle of these hills, and
Right.
like where is everything?
Right.
It's weird.
Yes.
That's another good thing about Allen too, is like with all the mixed use developments and everything is sort of in suburbs, all kind of situated. Like suburbs are tucked away, the suburb part of Allen,
Right.
like where the housing developments are, but the mixed use stuff is just like a hop, skip, and a jump. It's not that far. Everything's
really
sort
is.
of within. It's within the community distance, right?
It's definitely within the community. I actually laugh with a lot of residents who will say things like, "Oh, that's outside my radius. I don't go there. I don't
Right.
need to.
Right.
Everything that I need is right within my little radius. I've
Yeah.
got my favorite restaurants. I've got this
Exactly.
and that." And you're right. It does make it easy. And the mixed use that the cities are embracing now, they really make things much more simplistic for whoever that user is, whether it's a
Yeah.
resident or somebody who's there, for business. Nobody wants to get in the car and drive 20 minutes for lunch. That's just an awful thing, right? And then it's a great thing if you can walk. Yes, it is hot. We just talked about that. However,
Just get one of those fans attached to your
little
neck. You'll
fat.
be fine.
But most of the time, we see tons of people walking that are leaving an office. You guys have an office here where people can go and walk.
Yeah, yeah.
It breaks up your day. It's so wonderful when you can have that that kind of like accessibility that's easy, and you can still drive somewhere if you want to, right? Most of us would like that sense of ease a little bit more, right, than anything else. So.
Especially Nate with all the trails and nature and everything close by. Like I feel like there's a trail every corner you turn in Allen. And one of the great things about it is I know a lot of people, like for a while there, I was bringing my bike up to the office and
Right.
riding. There's a lot of areas to ride around here. Allen's the same way. Like if you could be across 75 in your office building, but then you go across the highway and there's a trail right there for you
Right
to
there.
walk or ride on. And you talk about breaking up your day. That can really relieve some mental stress, especially if you're having a tough one. To be able to
Absolutely.
go out and do stuff like that and have it close by.
And I know, I remember our office building when they put in this gym, and there were tons of people that would go for a bike and come back and shower and go in, or they were biking in the morning.
Yeah, that's really nice.
We loved those people because it was like, "Oh, you're doing it, right? Somebody built it." I know our parks director was thrilled to
Oh,
see
God,
that
yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
But you're right; it does just, you can't do that in all cities, and so
True.
if that's important to you, then that matters that the city put that in. And we're finding that it's more important to more people than maybe it used to be, right?
That's awesome.
People want to get out and do a little bit more.
Yeah, people don't want to be stuck. I was talking to Ruth, another one of our account directors, the other day, and she, or VP of healthcare accounts, and she said she goes outside for lunch pretty much every day. She's like, I just get tired of being inside in the AC. I need to get out in nature and see leaves blow in the wind. And we work in a really beautiful area where there's the man-made pond down there and the boardwalk and everything, which is really cool. So yeah, it's awesome to have those things.
It
And
matters.
I think you're right. I think there are a lot in today's age where remote work is becoming more of a thing. People that want to go into the office, they want to have those things at their disposal so that they know that, hey, I need a little bit of comfort during my work day where I can go out and do the things that I love.
Right.
And release some endorphins and get out and move a little bit.
Get out and move. Absolutely.
Yeah. So okay, so now we're going to start to get into some things that are a little bit, maybe a little bit, not really taboo, but maybe just a little.
You threw me
more
the easy ones
challenging.
first. Yeah. You're like, let me get her warmed up and then I'll do the other ones.
So this is actually a really good segue because we've been talking about some of those things. But how do you make something like economic development actually feel exciting and human in your messaging with your marketing tactics?
So one of the things that I learned when I came to economic development, 8 years ago, was that there are a lot of audiences that you have within economic development, and you really do have to segment them out because they all want something different. So like a site selector, they're a little bit more data oriented, and so you want your messaging to kind of be that direct and go that way. But then you've got other people that you're trying to reach that want more of that human message. And so I think what we look to is to try to really lead with people, because economic development, the first thing people think about it is not people, right? They're thinking buildings or people shopping or, increasing your tax base. Those are really difficult to kind of put in play, but they're all built and framed from people. So to help that human part of what we do, we're trying to make sure that we're showing people doing the things that bring economic development. So if we are showing a building, can we show people doing all the things that you just mentioned before, of what can people do? So we're always trying to look for that angle of what can be offered to people that they can understand or that they can relate or that they can see. And one of the things that I'm really excited to see over the past, I'd say, 3-4 years, economic development has gotten way more fun. I remember when, and I think some of that is the involvement of social media with economic development. I have some cities that I follow and I like, and they are doing amazing things, right? Like I saw, our city of Allen, I have to say, they did something that I just came out of the blue and I would have never thought. They did a cute little stint on Devil Wears Prada 2 coming out. And that would have never happened, right, a couple of years ago. Cities were kind of like, we're here to inform and we're here. So that level of engagement that they're looking at, we can get outside that box a little bit and do a little bit funner and be a little bit more relevant. I think is what everybody is trying to do, and certainly what we are trying to do.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching. There's one. I think they're in Michigan. It's a public library. There's a public library where a lot of the workers do some of the real social media trend stuff, and it's super fun. I think that's the one good thing that social media has done. I think because you've got fans on both sides of things. Like, it's so terrible in some respects, and then it's so great in other respects. There's always going to be extremes, right?
Right.
But I think that there's not as much gatekeeping now, and people in the pandemic really pushed things forward in some good ways.
Right.
Where now a lot of those things that used to be considered maybe like not as professional have become a part of everyday life, even when it comes to our work life. I think it was partly when you'd see kids running by when somebody's trying to do the weather, or like a cat sitting on the desk.
That happened at my house as well. Yes,
people started becoming more connected. They're like, yeah, that stuff happens at my place too. Like when the nanny walks in to get the kid, she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So it's that kind of stuff that's made it passable for everyone to do things that are a little bit more fun and more human.
Right.
And it's made life, I think, more fun in general,
right?
Especially when it pertains to our professional lives and our careers. I think this has allowed us to do a little bit more.
And economic development, when I was talking about those different segments, many of us are also marketing to a different audience than we used to. It used to be just really brokers and site selectors, but now, you have people making decisions in a different way. They're making decisions based on where employees are at, where the workforce is at, and people are deciding where they want to go based on where they want to live. So you've got HR directors that are coming in. Well, how you talk to an HR director is very different than how you would talk to a finance person, right? So as you have these different decision makers kind of coming in, now you've kind of opened up your audience a little bit to like, you're kind of like, okay, we can make it a little bit more human, or it does matter to put these things in there because your customer, right, who would be for us, is demanding it. They want to know. They want to know if you have parks and trails. They want to know how many restaurants you have. They just don't want to know how friendly your tax base is or those things. No, they want to know. They want to know what your schools are like. Where do people live? Are there great places for them to live? So by the customer demanding that we show that, we've been able to show it, and then it opens up a funner way to do that, right?
And it's a way, especially with people, because what you're talking about is personalization and segmentation.
Absolutely.
Right? Like if you're a director or manager and you have a team of people and you have different personalities, different ego types, different types of people, but at the end of the day, you're still speaking to human beings.
Right.
And you still have to be able to capture them emotionally. Even the most data-driven person, you're trying to appeal to who they are as a person, right? That's why it's important to show. We talked about this a lot when we were building the site. It's like, what is it that we really want to show? Because we could show buildings a live long day, but we actually need to put people, we need to make it aspirational for people. We need to show them doing these things, out having a drink with friends, out having dinner with their family, out walking the trails in the parks, doing those kinds of things so people can see, oh, that's what life actually looks like when I'm there, because I'm not at work 100% of the time.
No.
Right? I want to like the place that I work, and I know they're going to have that covered. But what else is there? Like, what about my kids? Are they going to be in a good school? What about my wife? Is she going to have things to do outside of her work life, right? Like, that she really enjoys? So those are I think it's so important to be able to do those things and have fun doing it at the same time.
Right,
Because
absolutely.
you don't want to go to a place that doesn't look fun. You know what I
No,
mean?
you don't. Nobody wants that.
So over the course of your career, I know we talked a little bit about this one, but this is a good question.
Okay.
What's one thing that cities consistently get wrong trying to attract businesses?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
I know you have an answer for this.
I do have an answer. Let's see. Well, the one thing, it's weird because I feel like it kind of goes back to what we just answered, but it is very true. I have seen it. We have probably been guilty of it ourselves a little bit, is that you're not knowing who your audience is and changing your messaging for that audience. Yeah. So, a lot of times in economic development, Texas is a very, business friendly environment. We want to showcase that. We want to shout that from the rooftops all the time. But what would happen is, you're right, we would spend so much time talking about that, so much time talking about the buildings and the things that matter, because at the end of the day, that kind of is the product, right? We are selling a place for a company to move to and basically have their home be. But if you think about it from the terms of like when you bought a house, you're not just looking at your house. You look at the neighborhood, you look at your neighbors, you look at all these different things that you look at. So it's not just that you're looking at. So luckily for economic development and cities, you have different people that you're trying to reach. They all are kind of asking different questions. You get a ton of questions thrown at you and you're asking that. If you just have that one message for everybody, it's going to fall flat, because then that person that cared about quality of life is going to say, wow, that's great, but you guys might, to your point, be kind of boring. You didn't show me anything. And, why would you not want to show that amazing asset of the trails and everything that you had? So I would say that it's not a one specific thing that I know you're probably looking for, but it is. If you don't look at your audience and segment that, and that can be hard. Most economic developments, we don't have a lot of resources, right? Many of us don't have big departments to kind of section that off. And so most of the stuff we do could be time sensitive a little bit. And so you can just kind of rush and get that stuff off and forget that step. We can all be... Any marketer is guilty of that, right?
Yeah.
Like we were like, oh, okay, is anybody going to really notice if we just kind of move that one along a little bit? And I think that could be the really big mistake that people make. I would say one other thing that cities do is, we are in a very relationship-based, believe it or not, customer service-driven field. And if you're getting asked things and you're not responding in a timely fashion, that can be pretty brutal. And as I just mentioned, many of us are stripped then on a few things. But, you guys are in an agency world.
Juggling act for sure.
Right? You know exactly what that feels like. And I think anybody in an agency would say the same thing.
Yeah.
Client is asking you for something and you don't find a way to get it done pretty quickly. That could be tough.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting too, though, when you start talking about like the sort of blanketed approach to the marketing, the messaging. I think that's just a good staple for any marketer to have nowadays, because the world we live in, you're trying to hone your messaging and to get directly at that person. Right. And the good thing is you guys have boatloads of data. So you know who you're marketing to, right? So it really helps you with how do we want to tailor this message to be able to have maximum impact when this person sees it, because it's kind of like a billboard. You got to catch people pretty quick because they could see that ad and it needs to hit them in a way that not only keeps you top of mind as a place to be, but affects them in a way that makes them feel like they need to go dig a little bit deeper or look back at something you guys have done, or give them click on the ad and it gives you the opportunity to kind of follow them around a little bit. I'm giving up our secrets.
Oh no, don't do that. This is supposed to be a friendly place. We can't be telling everybody they need us still, right?
But it's so funny that sort of thing permeates pretty much every facet of anything that any of us do in terms of marketing. It
does. And I think what's challenging when you have all these different segments is you can't have this like scattered messaging either, though. That's the other thing, right? Is when you segment your audience into so many different ways and types and things of people, then you run the risk of, well, did I say this? And did I say this? And what was our overlying message? And so, sticking to your overall, what were you trying to accomplish, and what was your value? What were you trying to accomplish? Yeah. And did it hit that, right?
Yeah.
If you were not trying to talk about being business friendly at that time and that was your whole message, well, then it's wrong. It didn't really resonate the what you wanted it to, right? So you've got to have that strategy. I feel like is so incredibly important when you have different segments in your audience.
We bang that drum a lot, and I think one of the other things I've seen. I don't know if you've seen this a lot in your travels, but when something doesn't work the first time, I see people, instead of tweaking the messaging and the creative, pivot their messaging completely.
Oh, yes.
And it's like there's no quicker way to shoot yourself in the foot than to abandon your strategy right from the get-go. Have that knee-jerk reaction if things don't work the way you anticipate.
Absolutely.
That's the beautiful thing about digital too, especially you're serving up digital ads. You can pivot if you need to, or say, hey, how can we tweak this messaging a little bit? It could just be maybe a couple of words, or maybe it's phrasing things differently to be able to have the impact that you want, instead of abandoning your roadmap entirely, and to where like you get off course, you don't really know where you're going.
You're so
you
right.
You're throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
That's when we see a lot.
You don't want, you hopefully majority of the people, your strategy was probably good, right?
Yeah.
Just maybe some of that execution needs a little tweaking here and there. That's a terrible thing. It's a waste of time and money. Now, there have been some instances where maybe your strategy does need to change.
Maybe it's a little bit off. Yeah. But there's
but
a lot
you're right. There's a long process to change that. You should not just abandon that after a quick little hurdle.
And because generally there's a long process to getting that strategy done, to considering all the fastest of the business and everything that needs to be done and what you're ultimately trying to achieve. There's a lot of work that goes into that road mapping, right? So just going off, like taking that little side path right off the bat can be detrimental in a lot of ways.
It really can. When something's not working, I have like a little group of people, and I like talking to people who are very different than I am. Like sometimes I can't always. I'm a marketer for sure, right? But maybe if I'm not that audience member, it'd be good to ask somebody else what they think. So I take that all the time, and I'm like, this doesn't work for me, but does it work for you?
Oh my gosh, it's so I've got thoughts around this one too.
Good.
So I think that's it's really great. I'm so glad to be having this conversation with you. I think that sometimes people, especially when you're creating things inside of a vacuum, you can get caught up injecting a little bit much. You can end up injecting a little bit too much of subjectivity into it and your personal preferences, instead of thinking about, okay, is this actually speaking to the person that I'm trying to reach? Not, does it work for me?
Right.
Does it work for them?
Does it work for them?
User, right?
End user.
Because that's something that happens a lot too. People get that. They're like, this is the way I want it, but it's like, yeah, but is it really achieving the objective though?
Does it? Right,
Does
for
it
sure.
hit that person that we need it to hit? That's something that I think as marketers, we have to brush our ego off and remember who we're building for.
I have said that so many times. I am now in what I call there's a line. I have defined this. This is not true. It's what I say. There's this line, and I'm on the other line now. In age, I am now on this side of the line, and so the people on the other side of the line will ask me things now, right? Because I'm on the other side, and I tell them all the time, marketing is great and it's wonderful, but you have to have really tough skin because most of what you put out there. It's so, if you're going to take that so personal, you're going to have a real short career because it can't be that personal, right? If you've got to, it's a client, you got to move on and you got to go. Now, there are sometimes you do have to stick to your guns, but you said the perfect word about ego, right? I always say, people always think marketers have the biggest ego because we think we're always right. I've heard that from a lot of people, right? Oh, they walk around, they think they're always right. I'm like, do we?
Yeah.
I feel like we've been beat up. Like us in PR people, we get beat up more than anybody.
I got one for this too.
Oh,
I remember seeing a Venn diagram a few years back that said, if you wanted to look at the life of a marketer or a creative, there's two things. There's, you wake up in the morning and you think, I'm the bomb. And you think over here, I have no idea what I'm doing. And somewhere in the middle, the crossover is where all the magic stuff happens, right? Because you have to be able to kind of brush off I'm the bomb a little bit and say, well, I need to have a little bit of humility. I feel like I'm good at what I do.
Right.
But in order to be a truly collaborative person and say, hey, what do we think about this? Not what do I think about this? Because it'd be easy to do that. And I think that's one of the reasons I never went to like New York to be on Madison Ave, because I know too many people that are like that. And I'm like, I don't ever want to be that way.
Right.
I don't want to be that person, you know, where I can actually take somebody's feedback and go, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Not, no, I don't care what you say. This is the way I want to do it. So this is the way we're going
Right.
to do it. Right. Because you get a lot of that.
You do.
But I think also one of the things to think about is how do you get into a room and because one of my favorite things to do is like whiteboard. I like to bounce ideas and to talk with different people. I'm like you. Like I like to talk
Right.
to people with different perspectives. Also, I feel like as marketers, you're going to rob yourself of a great experience as a marketer and a
Absolutely.
human if you don't listen to and talk to other people about this stuff.
Absolutely.
It's like, what do you think about this?
Right.
Sometimes it's about asking the right questions, right?
Asking the right questions.
and listening to what someone has to say and considering and be like, yeah, that makes a lot
Just
of
being
sense.
naturally curious, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just naturally
I think
curious
that's
and want to
something.
know.
I think honestly, I feel like that's kind of a prerequisite
It really
for
should
marketers.
be.
Is you should be a curious person, right? Like you should really want to know how these things work and why.
Absolutely.
Like I'm always interested in like the why. I don't want to just know the watch tells time. I'm like, how does the watch tell time? I
Right.
want to see all the moving parts. That's the fun part, right?
That's the fun part. That's why you're on the creative side, the creative director, right?
Yeah, I'm
That's what makes
definitely
you amazing.
Stop.
On the
I'm a
what
curious
you did.
person. Look at her. She's look what she did. So okay. So last question, and
Okay.
then we can have like some freewheeling
Oh,
time
good.
if you want.
Okay.
But this is like the last like sort of setup one that we have.
The last setup. Okay.
The last setup. Okay, so what? And this is actually a really good one. I think you'll be excited to answer this. So, what's a partnership or collaboration that really moved the needle for you and Alan
Ooh. Oh, that is a good one. Okay.
that you were really excited about?
That I was really excited about. Okay, so I know if there's any residents in Allen, because they've residents have been there forever, and a lot of my colleagues have been there forever. They're probably going to think, "Oh gosh, that she could have answered that way different." But I'm going to preface it and say I'm answering it from the time that I have been there,
Fair
because I
enough.
feel like Allen has gone through a lot of change. But I always tell, I talked to Dan, our CEO, and I always tell him, I said, I don't know if it was a blessing or a curse when I first came into the city of Allen, because they were ready to go through some tremendous change. And one of them is this partnership that you're talking about. They had just partnered with a developer who was kind of taking a big chance on Allen and creating our first Class A, big kind of fancy Class A office building. For those that don't know Class A, like your nice office building. And, they had to involve a public-private partnership. So the city was having to kind of go out on a limb and, put some dollars out there and take a chance on it, as was the developer. And it wasn't what they call like a shoe-in, like in downtown Dallas at the time, where they knew it was going to work. There's tons of workers there. Of course it's going to work. We were asking them to kind of like build it and they will come kind of thing. Although the difference is we knew it was going to work, but you had to kind of validate that market. And so seeing that partnership with that developer, I always say that they've got a fun little call out for me. They're like my favorites because I felt like we grew up together. They helped me grow up into that space. And seeing Allen then kind of was put on the map for Class A office and started to become that. We got to market in a different way than we had, because now I had a new product that I was able to market, right? So we had this different market, which reached a different audience and allowed us to have more fun, all the things we had just talked about before. And I think that changed the trajectory of where Allen is at today. Absolutely, in my mind. People will say Waters Creek or some of those other things, and I definitely think they do. But in my short-lived time that I've been there, seeing in the 8 years what happened from there to now where we're talking about building, 6 million square feet of office on 121, which I know we're working on a partnership with your team on that. I just don't know that many people would have thought that. I mean, our city council did, because they had a great vision of what that was. But, everybody else, did you think that was going to happen? Probably not. And so I think it's my best example of seeing that partnership kind of come to life and do what it was meant to do. I think it changed how our city is.
That's amazing. I can't even imagine like how, like sometimes, the old saying, ignorance is bliss, right? Like not really knowing. My dad actually sat on the city council for the city of Arlington for a while.
Oh, good.
He was in the zoning commission.
So you're familiar.
Somewhat. Yeah. I haven't asked a ton of questions, but I know that there are a lot of logistical hoops to jump through. I know there's a lot of back and forth, a lot of meetings.
So many
I can't
meetings.
even fathom
Yes.
to get that type of build done, what it takes to get to that point where
I don't think people know either.
it's a
They just don't,
it's a
right?
lot.
I mean, I came in brand new and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we've been talking about this forever. How long does it take to get going, right? Because you're persuading people to take a chance on you, so much like an entrepreneur is doing, right? They're having to be persuasive and tell you to take a chance. And you've got this whole research phase that you're doing to make sure that this market can sustain what you're actually saying that it can. data matters, and is the data showing us that
Sure.
it can? So there's all that. And then, just getting something done that hasn't been done yet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And do you talk when you guys go? Let's point it back a little bit more towards marketing.
Sure.
When those conversations happen, and I'm sure you've sat in your share in 8 years, obviously. When it comes to like, let's talk about 121 North for a second. When it comes to like the pre-marketing of something like that, where you're starting to inform the public that these things are happening and what's going to happen.
Right.
Do y'all talk about that in those meetings? Like, how soon does that plan have to come to fruition to say, here's how we're going to start to push this message out and let people know that these things are happening, not only with the website, but then also with the supporting tactics and the supplemental things that happen around all of it. How soon do those conversations start to take place in the process?
So, I think every city would answer that differently, because I think some cities can be very strategic and say, this is what we want to do. This is what we're going after. We know it's a long game. It's maybe going to take 5 years to kind of build this up and get going on that.
A lot of faith.
A lot of faith. And there have been some great, just case studies of cities that have done that. Other cities, I think a little bit too, like Allen, have had a little bit of the best of both worlds. Like we've had, great city leadership that has said, you know what, we're gonna wait, we're gonna be patient. This is what we want, and we're giving you direction to not do that. And so then you be patient and don't do that. Like for 121, we have a vision of what we want that to look like. Now, I don't think that they sat there and said, let's tell our residents everything that we want this vision to be, right? But there was a point where it was like, yeah, we should probably start, because people are asking, why isn't anything happening over there? What are you guys doing, right? So I think there are
more inquisitive residents.
More inquisitive, which is great. And I think we've gotten better at informing our residents.
Sure.
It was just, again, you talked about it, social media. You didn't really do that back then, and now you can. So I think that some cities kind of get pushed in that direction to have that conversation a little earlier than what they have. I think everybody has that vision, and then maybe something is telling you it's time to do that and time to move on. And then when that time happens, at least for us, yes, it does involve sitting down and kind of talking that through and talking through the strategy of what that involves. And I think that that's what marketing is kind of bringing to the table a little bit more. I have a colleague, and he is so incredibly smart in our office, and he always says, he's been in the industry a long time, and he always says, economic development is kind of, it's really two pillars, right? It's the financial and the economic pillar and the educational pillar of what we do, and we're making change and we're growing. He said, but it's also so much marketing. He said, because if you look at it, we are trying to sell you something that maybe isn't even here
Doesn't
yet.
even exist yet, right? And that's why I use that question.
And you're saying that, yeah, because he said that. He's like, we've been doing this for a long time, and every city you go to, no matter where you go, you're either selling something that isn't there yet, and you're trying to make it be, and so you're figuring out how to do that, or you're selling something that is close to being here. He's like, sometimes by the time it's there, you don't need to sell it anymore.
Right.
Now it's kind of passed on
People
and
can
kind of
see
like
it.
the product cycle. It's almost like a weird product cycle, and it's gone on to somebody else, and it's there and it's seen and it's happening. And, if you're having to market it, maybe people aren't using it. That's not a good thing. But now we're probably marketing something that isn't there yet again, right?
That could be years out.
That could
right?
be years
and trying
out.
to get people excited about it. But that's why you have like architectural renderings, things like that. Talk about the groundbreaking and all that.
I think
kind
back
of
to
stuff.
the old school people. I'm like, wow, you guys had it hard.
Oh, holy smokes!
Because we have video and all these
Right.
things, right? And I'm like, how did you do that? Like
one day it
moving
was there,
around?
the next day it wasn't. Right? It was like just people would just drive by and go, "Well, it's almost done." Right?
Right.
So I guess that's good.
I mean,
But man, that's got to be tough. But that's how much pressure do you feel as a marketer? Because a lot of what, like filling up doing like pre-selling space, pre-selling leases, things like that. It's a lot of pressure to do when something's there. How much pressure do you feel when it's not there yet, and you do have that much runway? Do you feel a lot of pressure to make those things happen, to get it in front of people, because not everybody can make that leap, right?
No.
Not everybody can make the leap there to go, okay, I see this vision for what it is. Some people might be able to,
Right.
maybe visionary types. I guess,
visionary.
right?
Yeah.
City council people can, of course, they see
Obviously.
it. But how much pressure do you feel to get people to understand and see what that vision is?
I think that it's more than it used to be,
Yeah.
right? Because you're seeing a demand from people in a good way. I don't think that that's a bad thing, right? To ask more questions, be more informed, and so there is I feel like a lot of pressure that you don't want to do something that's wrong. You don't want to put something out there that is not correct. And I think from a marketing perspective, a lot of times, this is one thing that has been really interesting with me, I feel like, in kind of making that transition to economic development is a lot of times you're marketing something that doesn't belong to you, right? We're marketing something. It is a very weird thing to kind of do. I had to kind of get my arms around that a little bit. You're marketing a building that maybe a developer has, and you're trying to market it, right? You're trying to market this mixed use space, and it's not really your product. You can't really see what it is.
Right.
So I feel like that's where the strategy becomes so important because you're really having to talk and listen to all the different players on there. It's not just you. It's not just your product, right? You've got to talk to these people and these people and these people and find out. And I think that's where the pressure comes from, to make sure that you're translating that correct message in the way that so-and-so person intended you to do it, because it's not even yours. I think is something that is a bit of a challenge.
There's a bit of marketing involved in that too, trying to help somebody who doesn't maybe see the vision or understand it, trying to get them to understand it, right? So it's a little bit of practice, honestly. So let me ask you this. So with that said, being that you have to talk to developers, contractors, all the people that are all involved, right? The good thing is you don't have to do it all yourself, obviously, which is awesome.
Right.
But
we have a great team.
How do y'all consider that? Is that a more of a B2B approach, or is that B2C or D2C?
That's a great question.
How do y'all look at that?
I'll try to answer that as quickly as I can because I actually struggled with that for a little while of like, I don't know. Am I a B2C? Am I a B2C? What are we doing? And I remember telling people when I was first kind of doing this, I was like, look, I know marketers say all the time, oh, I'm in branding, right? I'm branding. And I'm like, I truly am in branding. I am branding and the city. That's what 100%. I'm doing. I am branding the city. And then I have all these little things, but I can't ever really have a great ROI on it because they don't buy anything, they don't do anything, they don't click on anything. Right. I mean, and so I would tell people all the time, it's hard for me to get my head around because how do I qualify it? And when you talk to other marketers, you don't really qualify branding too much, right? No. You qualify it on, is it word of mouth or do they see that or all that kind of thing?
Or what your engagement is.
What your engagement, it's hard. So I kind of look at it as like, we were mostly B2B. And then I think after COVID happened and people started being work from home, everything you said, and the focus a little bit more on quality of life and workforce and companies going where the talent is and talent deciding where they want to live instead of moving for the job, they were moving for where they want to live. Then I think we started to become more B2C because it was like, wow, we have to start selling this product who the end user is actually, the end user is Nate. It's not the point group, right? I'm trying to tell the point group to move here. But if I can make Nate like it, then the point group knows that Nate wants it and they will want that, right? Yeah. So then it became, we're kind of both now in almost a really weird way. And how you market to those two are very, very different. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense.
Did I answer that?
Also, the other thing that makes sense is, hey, you heard it from Eileen. Whatever I like, that's what we should do. I'm just kidding.
That's exactly what I said.
No, this is so amazing though. Like I'm so fascinated to hear about this part of it because I'm looking at it from one side of the fence.
Right.
But because I almost look at what you do as like you're a brand side marketer, right? Yeah. So you're marketing the Allen brand, the Allen Economic Development brand, right? So it's not really that much different. It's the same principles that you probably got from your early marketing career, right? And how that transitioned over to now, some of the same things apply. They're just applied in different ways.
Yeah, and then it's weird that can kind of be like an aha moment, right? Because I think you get so fixated on this one thing that you're doing. But again, I also think in the time that I've been here, things have changed and they have evolved. I think that, there was a time, and it still is very important. Data matters, right? So
100%.
The bottom line matters, business, just business costs matter. We can't deny that those things are important, and we need to market them. Those are just tremendously important. I think where kind of the secret sauce is, so to speak, is that you now have this other section of your city and the quality of life and the community and everything that it brings together that is kind of your little golden nugget down here, right? And you've got to figure out how to market that now. And before, the golden nugget was like, oh, when you get here, I'll show you and I'll tell you about it and it'll be great. And you've got to show that golden nugget a lot sooner. And, you've got to be able to tell that story a little bit better than maybe we were in the past because, again, it's being demanded that you do that. And, more cities are doing that. More cities are on board to do that. I think that they are understanding the importance of it. And so now you got a lot of competition out there, especially here in the Metroplex. We've got amazing cities. We've got amazing little sister cities all around us who do a great job. And you got to stand out on that. And that can be
part
hard.
of the ecosystem too, though,
Absolutely.
like because people also want to know, like, what am I surrounded by? Even if somebody is willing to make the drive, it's like, hey, I don't mind driving the 40 miles it takes to get to Fort Worth. Yeah, I'll take the trek out there and be able to see something else that's cool. Those things matter too. That's why it's called the Metroplex. Like, there's a lot of great places. Allen is one of the best, if not the best.
We are, right?
But I also think that, like, from a that marketing perspective, you talk about like being able to tell people those things early, also like building in the authenticity, because now we live in an age where, not that there really was a lot of this. I think when we talk about marketing, a lot of people, the reason that we were looked at a certain way is because people were like, oh, it's smoke and mirrors. Right. But now people have so much at their disposal. They can just run to chat and say, hey, is all this about this city true?
Right.
So there's no way around that. You have to tell them what it actually is, because you don't want to undersell or oversell and they get there and they're like, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah.
So,
you have one trail. You told us you had several trails. You have one trail.
Which is not the case
That
at
is
all.
not the case.
Right. But yeah, it's just so fascinating to me to be able to get kind of this side of it. I think to a lot of people that are going to watch this, they're going to feel the same way and be like, man, there's a lot that really happens inside of like the economic development side of things that is really relatable from an agency perspective, because it's marketing. Marketing is marketing, right? It never really doesn't really change, because you're still catering to people.
You're still catering to people
and their emotions and their feelings and all those.
And it's a marketing podcast, so we have to give that plug, right? But marketing is important.
Yeah,
it matters in every industry. I know sometimes we can be the first to go, but it's important.
I don't really think there's a better exclamation point than the one you just gave us, Eileen. That was amazing. This has been such a fun conversation. I'm so glad you finally got to make it by and see the studio and all this fun stuff and hang out with us for a little bit.
Anybody looking to come, it's amazing.
Was there anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything else you felt like you wanted to
No, I think that
we talked about a lot.
We did talk about a lot. I don't think anybody wants to hear me talk anymore. They're going to be like, oh gosh.
You're a blast. This time flew. It's been like 10 minutes.
It's been 10 minutes, right? But no, I think that you guys, obviously I can do a shameless plug, but we've been working with the Point Group for a long time. So there's that. And I think you guys do a great job of helping us tell our story and understanding it. I think one of the things we like working about with your agency is you do ask a lot of questions and kind of get us thinking a little bit, because again, we could be in our little silo and just be like, oh, I remember, I think it was Anne said something one time and she's like, you think that that's not a big deal, but that's a big deal to everybody else. Yeah. Not everybody has that. I'm like, oh, you're right. They don't, So, sometimes having an agency that can ask you those things and see those things is important. You guys have done a great job on that for us.
That's sweet of you to say.
So there you go.
We really enjoyed it. Working with people like you makes it super easy. So,
well, there you go.
But it's fun. Like, you're super collaborative, and it's always been a great time working with you guys. And we're going to continue to tell the Allen story and do the best we can with it, and hope people understand how great Allen is and give them plenty of reasons to come here.
You're going to give me lots of real things, right? We just talked about it. And everything that Nate gives me is going to be real, because we can't sugarcoat it.
We have a choice. We have to be. Well, thanks, Eileen. Thanks for coming in. It was so nice to see you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Talking to you, of course.